Hello everybody and welcome to part 18 of What If Midoriya Found the Omnitrix. If you are enjoying this series and want to see more in the future, don't forget to like and subscribe. 100 likes and it will continue. With that said, please enjoy the video. Midoriya had been through the ringer. In less than a day, he had repeatedly jumped through space-time, meeting not one but two different versions of himself. He had finally managed to land back in his home dimension and time period, only to be arrested by an underground shadow government called the Plumbers. They were still dealing with the ramifications of Exoskull's rampage, trying to get the whole situation settled. They had secured the scene and created a cover story, but they were still missing vital information. Lucky for the organization, Izuku reappeared a couple minutes after he had vanished, giving them a chance to collect more data. They didn't waste any time taking the young hero into custody. He was quickly transported back to the main base, where he was taken to Interrogation Room 7. May I say, I didn't think I'd be in another one of these so quickly, Midoriya noted as Ben entered the room. When were you in one of these rooms before? Ben asked, not having the complete picture. He had been filled in on what happened more or less by the plumbers who had transported Izuku, but there were still many blanks they had to fill in. Given the proximity he and the young hero had, Ben was the one tasked with debriefing. I'm pretty sure you haven't seen an interrogation room before, much less one in Plumber headquarters. Earlier today, in that other dimension, Midoriya answered, remembering the experience well. Right, you went to other universes today. Was this the one with the emo me or the future you? Ben asked, taking a sip of his smoothie right after to soothe his budding headache. Man, I don't get this omniversal stuff at all. Can we take this from the top? Sure. I was patrolling the city when we got notified that a villain was attacking. I engaged this Exoskull guy and fought with him, but he threw me very far away. I ended up catching up to him and his group just as they were escaping. I jumped into the portal after them, Izuku explained. And you ended up in the world where your friend died, right? The fast one? Ben asked, interrupting so he could follow along better. Yes, I think we interrupted the final exams of the first semester. Anyway, the Exoskull villain charged in, taking the other me. I followed behind to help, but when I arrived, the other me had already taken him down. We talked a little, but then an emo version of you, or, well, we've been calling him Negaben, showed up. He fought us and even defeated us. When I woke up, I was in a plumber's cell, where the plumbers asked me where I came from and all that stuff. Midoriya continued. Right, the debriefing, or well, in that case I'd call it an interrogation. So that's why you recognize the room. Ben interrupted again, now understanding why Izuku recognized the room he was in. After that, we went after the villains. We tried stopping them from getting this weird hand thing they were after, but they ended up escaping. I didn't want to let that happen, so I followed them into the portal. I ended up in the future where, well, most of my friends were dead. Right, the debriefing, or well, in that case I'd call it an interrogation. So that's why you recognize the room. Okay, I think I get it now. We can stop there. Man, you really had it rough with the portals. Maybe don't jump into one of those head first next time? Ben jokingly commented, wanting to lighten the mood. Unfortunately, the boy in front of him did not seem to find the communist humors as he did. In all seriousness, you've been through a lot. Not only that, but learning what happened to your friends in these other worlds must have hurt. Maybe you should try talking to a therapist or something. It's fine. It's not like all that happened to me, Midoriya argued. Yeah, but that sort of thing can take a toll on a person. Not many people react well when faced with their own mortality, and that of those around them. Ben countered, slightly worried about the boy. At least, think about it. I will, Midoriya mumbled back. Okay, so I think we're done for today. Ben said, getting up and heading towards the door. He had written down enough information for an accurate report so he could let Midoriya get back to his life. "So, what's in store for you now?" he asked, wanting to make conversation as they left. He even opened the door, wanting to let the green-haired boy pass first. "Well, I'm going to go back to the dorms, rest, and then find a good time to tell my friends about the Omnitrix and where my powers really come from," Midoriya answered as he got up, not expecting his plans to be a problem. "You are not doing that," Ben said in a more serious tone, slamming the door shut. "What? Why not?" Izuku questioned, taken aback by the sudden slam. "For one, it directly violates Prima Protocol. For their own safety, civilians are not supposed to know about any alien activity or other strange stuff such as time travel or alternate dimensions," Ben explained, his tone getting more and more severe as he did. "The only reason you know about us is that your father is a plumber, and that thing on your wrist made interactions with extraterrestrial life forms inevitable." Midoriya just looked at Ben, not really knowing how to respond to that. Promise me that you won't say anything," Ben said. The look on his face was the most serious Izuku had seen him make until this point. The more Izuku looked at him, the more intimidating Ben got. It kinda reminded him of Ben's emo counterpart. Okay, Midoriya finally managed to let out, gulping. All the fight had been taken out of him with just a glance. "Good. Well, I hope you have a nice day then," Ben said, returning to a more friendly demeanor as he opened the door. Midoriya then left the facility. On his way out, he was given a false report to give to his agency. He couldn't exactly provide the same information, as the aliens and alternate dimensions was information a bit too strange for the common folk. Nevertheless, he quickly learned the cover story, giving it to Night Eye and Bubble Girl once he got back to them. The day quickly came to an end, so Midoriya headed back home, needing some much-deserved rest. A few days later, during their lunch break, Izuku quickly passed by the administration office, wanting to talk to his teacher. "Oh, hey Midoriya, what can I do for you?" Aizawa asked after spotting the boy. "Hello, Mr. Aizawa. I'm here to see if I can maybe change my hero codename," Midoriya answered. He had been thinking of doing it for the past few days, ever since he met his alternate counterparts. He was conflicted about changing it as he wanted to do all in his power to change the future he had seen, to avoid becoming who he had met, but he realized that if he changed his name now, then in a way, he was changing things. So, in the end, he convinced himself that changing his name now was the right thing to do. "That's Midnight's department. I'm not really that good at this kind of stuff," Aizawa reminded. Izuku's eyes then started darting around the room, looking around, leading Aizawa to point in her direction and say, "She's at her desk over there." "Right, thank you," Midoriya said, leaving to talk to Midnight, seeming a bit nervous about it. While he did so, Aizawa got back to preparing the following few classes. Once Izuku approached Midnight, he quickly explained what he wanted.
"Really? Are you sure you want to change your codename to that? Wasn't Deku an insult?"
I'm sure," Izuku said, his voice trembling slightly. He wasn't sure if it would do anything. It could change everything for the worse, but he had to try something. Even if it was a small change like this. It used to be. But with some of the things I've seen recently, I think it's a name that can represent hope for a lot of people.
Okay then, if you're sure, but personally, I think that Changeling is a much better name for you,"
Midnight said, approving the name change to Deku 10. With that taken care of, Izuku went to lunch, wanting to eat something before the hero training exercises. After lunch, the students went through some regular rescue training. They were tasked with saving several mannequins which acted as civilians, while some of the other students act as the villains, attacking the civilians. Those doing the rescue were not allowed to engage, only block or run away. After the class came to an end, Midoriya approached Bakugou. He had a determined look on his face, like he had something important on his mind. "Ka-chan, can I talk to you?" Midoriya asked in a serious tone, interrupting the conversation Bakugou was having with Kirishima and Kaminari. "What do you want now, nerd?" Bakugou shouted at Midoriya, annoyed that he would interrupt the conversation like that. "I'd like to talk to you about something," Midoriya said, leading Bakugou away from the other two for a moment so they wouldn't overhear. "It's Omnitrix related. That stupid watch better not be broken or anything." "Fine. Meet me outside after you finish changing," Bakugou said, lowering his tone for a moment. "What did Midoriya want?" Kaminari asked as Midoriya left for the changing room. "None of your damn business, Sparky," Bakugou shouted at him in a typical fashion. Both students quickly changed back into their school uniforms, meeting outside of the building. Then, to make sure no one would eavesdrop on their conversation, they walked pretty far. They managed to get all the way to the forest viewway before Midoriya started speaking. He quickly explained everything that happened to him recently, asking Bakugou what he thought Izuku should do once he was done. "You get into the weirdest situations when you're alone, you know that?" Bakugou complained, struggling to wrap his head around the idea of alternate dimensions and time travel. "Next time, you're gonna tell me that the universe blew up or something and you had to rebuild it." "So, do you think I should do it?" Izuku asked, reiterating his question since Bakugou seemed to have ignored it. "Do what?" Bakugou asked, not having processed it. Deku had given him so much information that he lost track towards the end. "Tell the others about all this," Midoriya reiterated. He knew the plumber said he shouldn't. He promised Ben he wouldn't, but his future self's request still rang through his head. He was conflicted and didn't know what to do. "Hell no," Bakugou finally replied, confusing Izuku. "Your world is way too weird. Aliens, time travel, alternate worlds. Who would believe any of this?" "You did," Midoriya countered, looking for a way that he would be able to tell his friends. He wanted to, but knew he probably shouldn't. "I literally saw a second you that used your powers. Plus, there was no way you got a quirk out of nowhere. Something like this was way more plausible," Bakugou argued. "But it could have just been someone with a shape-shifting quirk or something," Midoriya said, poking holes in Bakugou's logic. "True," Bakugou conceded, "but it's still a lot to wrap your head around. I don't think they're ready for it." The conversation came to an end rather quickly. Midoriya was hesitant about the answer they landed on, but he felt he had to go along with the others' opinions. They were the majority after all. So, against his judgment, he decided not to tell his friends. After the conversation with Bakugou ended, time began to pass. Hours turned to days and days turned to weeks, with the students keeping up their training and work studies. Midoriya didn't slack on any of his duties, learning how to use most of his new transformations effectively quite quickly, even developing some ultimate moves that he started implementing in the field. During this time, the investigation into the League of Villains by Night Eye Agency continued. Midoriya was called into Night Eye's office to give a report, which helped Night Eye piece a lot of information together. But due to the scarcity of sightings of the League, the new information didn't lead to much. It was as if they had just disappeared. Since the investigation wasn't advancing and the area surrounding Night Eye Agency was relatively peaceful, Midoriya got to attend school quite regularly. On a day like any other, Aizawa informed the students that the school festival was approaching and that they had to prepare something for it. Like with the sports festival, some students voiced their concern about the festival being held since the school was quite prone to being attacked by villains, but Aizawa explained that this event would be much smaller in scale compared to other years, and it would automatically be cancelled at the first sign of trouble. With that information now known to everyone, the students started discussing ideas for what they could do. They all agreed that they should do something to allow other classes to blow off steam, but it still took a long time for them to decide what they should do. In the end, at Todoroki's suggestion, the class settled on putting on a performance. They decided to throw a concert for everyone, with the details solidifying as they talked the idea over. Around the same time, Eri woke up from her coma, so all members of Night Eye Agency visited her at the hospital, including her heroes Lemillion and Deku. The girl seemed to have gotten better than the last time they saw her, but there was still a grim influence around her. It was as if Chisaki still had his grasp around the girl's heart. Mirio tried to come up with a way to cheer her up, to free the girl from Chisaki's grasp, proposing she attend the school festival. At first, Eri didn't know what Mirio was talking about, but her confusion was wiped away as the third-year student explained, making her quite excited to attend the event. Knowing that she'd be coming to the school festival, Class 1A and 3B did their best to make the upcoming event enjoyable for the girl, working extra hard to do so. On the day of the festival, expecting something to inevitably go wrong, Night Eye attended the festival as Eri's escort. He decided to use his quirk on the young girl to make sure everything went smoothly. "Bubble Girl, make sure you keep an eye on Eri for the time being," Night Eye ordered after peering into the girl's future.
Sure, but what are you going to do?
Bubble Girl replied, walking to Eri's side and grabbing onto her hand gently, wanting to know what her mentor had in store. "I have some matters to attend to right now," Night Eye answered, leaving to search for Lemillion. He'd seen a future he would rather avoid. A few months ago, he wouldn't have thought it possible to do anything, but after his experience with the Yakuza, it seemed that time wasn't a linear path anymore. The future he had seen wasn't a dark one like the last time he peered forward, but would hamper the girl's development if it came to pass, so Night Eye was willing to do what he could to avoid it.
Come on, let's go see what they're preparing over there.
Bubble Girl said to Eri, not wanting her to worry about what Night Eye was up to.
Okay,
Eri said, slightly hesitant as she watched Night Eye leave. She grabbed onto Bubble Girl's hand and went over to one of the stalls, playing a game where she had to scoop little hero figurines. Once Night Eye found Mirio, he quickly explained the situation to him. Then, both Master and Apprentice left the school in a hurry, searching for the villain that would soon break into the facilities. "He came from this direction, so he should be somewhere around here," Night Eye concluded as they reached a convenience store. Moments later, Midoriya came out of said store. He was out buying some supplies to make candy apples for Eri. "What's wrong?" Midoriya wondered after spotting his mentor and upperclassmen, surprised to see them there. They were surveilling the area, seemingly searching for something. "We're looking for a villain that Sir saw would ruin the festival," Mirio quickly explained. Realizing what this would mean for the girl he had helped save, Midoriya dropped his bags. Wanting to help, he transformed into Reverb, multiplying in order to search the area more effectively. The two internet villains Gento and La Brava were hiding in the tea shop next door. Once they finished their tea, they went to leave, spotting the heroes outside. This only served to hasten their operation, with both of them trying to sneak out before the heroes could spot them. As they tried to escape through the back, one of Izuku's clones spotted them, warning his compatriots. The sole copy of Reverb tried to stop the two villains, but Gento's cunning allowed him to escape, leaving the silicon lifeform behind. Their escape was in vain, as Mirio caught up to the villains a few seconds later. He tried to defeat them with a single smash, but it ended up bouncing off an invisible elastic barrier Gento had erected. The strength of the blow sent Mirio flying away for a moment. Seeing that, Izuku almost switched forms to join in the battle, but he spotted Mirio change trajectory, so, wanting to save power for the festival, he returned to his human form. Mirio soon caught up to the villain, delivering another full-powered smash. Gentle, thinking the previous strategy would suffice to keep the hero at bay once more, did little else but create a few barriers. However, they didn't even slow Mirio down as he just phased through them, hitting the villain in the head to knock him unconscious. Mirio then handed the villain to Night-Eye, who called the proper authorities to dispose of them, returned to the festival once the two were in custody. With the threat to the festival apprehended, Night-Eye, Bubble Girl, Mirio, and Eri went over to Class 1A's concert. It took a few moments for things to get started, but a smile instantly formed on Eri's face once it did. The concert started with some strange plants growing out of the ground as smoke filled the stage. The lights then suddenly turned on, focusing on the band as they started playing.
Thank you all for coming!
Jiren enthusiastically screamed, the lights expanding to the whole stadium, revealing the dancers as the beat dropped. The plants started moving around, acting with the dancers in order to have them bounce around. One of them flung Aoyama into the air, with a vine sprouting from the roof to catch him. In just a few moments, he had turned into a living disco ball, his light reflecting off of tiny ice shards that filled the stage. As the song continued, not only was the environment filled with many special effects created using the students' quirks, but they were even dancing around above the crowd, creating a truly immersive experience. The students were bouncing around on the plants Midoriya was manipulating. Some of them were even going up in flames to bring a bit more excitement into the mix. Once the song came to an end, the plants dived into the ground, disappearing with a giant bud sprouting up in center stage. It opened up, revealing Midoriya's Mr. Nature bowing with the rest of his class as a flash of lights indicating his transformation into a human filled the stage. At first, Eri was disappointed that their hero wasn't there, but she somehow knew that the plant structures were his doing. So it was quite a pleasant surprise when she saw him show up at the end. The whole thing was just an incredible experience for the girl, with all the lights and tricks the students had prepared using their quirks. It plastered a smile on the girl's face that lasted the rest of the day. Once the concert and its cleanup finished, some 1A students such as Uraraka, Tsuyu, and Midoriya went along with Eri, Bubble Girl, Mirio, and Ide throughout the festival, ensuring the girl had a good time. It was a fantastic experience for the little girl, with attraction after attraction. She even got a candy apple from Midoriya towards the end of the day. This would truly be one of the memories she'd cherish forever. For Midoriya, on the other hand, the sensation he had throughout the day was different. He was doing his best to try and enjoy himself, he really was, but throughout the whole day, his head was too focused on what was to come. The sadness he knew the future would bring was clouding the happenings he could be experiencing at the moment. He knew all these happenings would soon end, and he couldn't stop thinking about that. This led him to talk to Aizawa and ask for an appointment with the school counselor, which ended up becoming a regular thing for him. A few days after the culture festival, the Wild Wild Pussycats, along with Koda, visited Class 1A. And on the day when the new hero billboard charts were going to be announced, no less. It was the first time Izuku and Koda had gotten to see each other in a while, so that was something. But the boy was disappointed once he met the man who had saved him. His demeanor had changed entirely, seeming more depressed than before. He seemed to have a frown on his face that wouldn't go away. Koda tried to cheer him up, but that frown didn't even fade. Their encounter didn't last long either, as the Pussycats had other duties to attend to, so they left shortly after. Still, it was a surprise that made the day quite pleasant. A pleasantness that wouldn't be very long-lived, as the next day, things took a turn for the darker. A turn that would last for quite a while. Both the new number 1 and the new number 2 heroes got in a confrontation with an enhanced Nomu, one unlike any they had seen before. It's starting, Midoriya whispered in shock as he looked at the news. He couldn't help but picture the coming dark future that his other self had told him about. He couldn't help but imagine his friends dead beside him. It was as if the dark future was somehow bleeding into his present.
Are you alright, Todoroki?
Yaoyorozu asked, snapping Midoriya out of thought. He was thinking too far ahead and realized he should focus on helping his friend through the present. He rushed to Todoroki's side in order to support him, had a distraught look on his face as he watched the unfolding scene on TV. Midoriya and all their classmates did all they could to support Todoroki through it. In the end, Endeavor managed to pull through, overcoming the odds and defeating his opponent. He even made a post similar to the one All Might had made before he retired. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out one of the videos on screen. Until next time everyone, have an absolutely fantastic day. Bye!